First National Bank's entire computer system was under attack. Hackers stealing millions in real time, customers' accounts emptied while they slept. IT department panicking, FBI 3 hours away, bank executives watching their institution collapse digitally. But the night security guard, a quiet 45-year-old who usually just checked doors and watched cameras, calmly walked to the server room. "Sir, you can't be in here during a cyber emergency," the IT manager yelled. The guard replied, "I used to defend military networks from Chinese hackers in the NSA. This is familiar territory." Welcome to Unsung Heroes Stories. Before we dive into this high-tech battle between a veteran and cyber criminals, tell us in the comments, from which city are you watching this video today? And if you believe heroes come in unexpected forms, hit that subscribe button. This story will change how you see the person checking badges at your bank. First National Bank, downtown Cleveland. Tuesday night, 8:47 p.m. Most employees had gone home hours ago, leaving only the skeleton crew that kept the bank's systems running overnight: IT maintenance staff, security personnel, and the cleaning crew. David Chen was making his hourly rounds when the first alert sounded. 15 years as a night security guard had taught him to recognize different types of alarms. Fire alarms were sharp and urgent. Burglar alarms were rhythmic and penetrating. But this sound was different, a continuous, high-pitched wail that seemed to come from the IT department. David had been working security at First National for 3 years. At 45, he was older than most security guards, but he was reliable, professional, and kept to himself. His background check had cleared without issues. Former government employee, clean record, excellent references. What it didn't show was that those 15 years of government service had been spent at NSA headquarters in Fort Meade, Maryland, defending America's most classified computer networks from nation-state hackers. David walked toward the IT department and immediately recognized the chaos. Multiple monitors showing red warning screens, IT staff frantically typing commands, and the unmistakable tension of people watching their systems fail in real time. "What's the situation?" David asked Tom Bradley, the night IT supervisor. "Massive cyber attack. Someone's in our system, moving money, accessing customer accounts. I've never seen anything like this." David looked at the screens and immediately understood what he was seeing. Attack vectors, data exfiltration patterns, financial transfer protocols being hijacked. In his 15 years at NSA, he'd defended against this exact type of operation dozens of times. "How long has this been going on?" "Started about 10 minutes ago. We've lost control of our wire transfer system, customer database is compromised, and they're moving money faster than we can track it." David watched the screens as millions of dollars disappeared from customer accounts. The hackers weren't just stealing, they were systematically draining the bank's reserves while covering their tracks with sophisticated data manipulation. "Have you contacted the FBI?" David asked. "First call we made. They're sending a cybercrimes unit, but they're coming from Columbus. 3 hours minimum." 3 hours. In David's NSA experience, most cyber attacks were completed within the first hour. By the time federal agents arrived, First National Bank would be financially destroyed. "What about your firewalls and security protocols?" Tom laughed bitterly. "They bypassed everything. Whoever's doing this knows our systems better than we do." David studied the attack patterns on the monitors. The hackers were using a specific sequence of penetration techniques that he recognized from classified NSA briefings. This wasn't random cybercrime. This was professional economic warfare. Before we continue, imagine your bank account being emptied while you sleep, and the only person who can stop it is someone you've never really noticed. What would you want them to do? Let us know in the comments. David made a decision that would save First National Bank and its 200,000 customers. He pulled out his phone and started making calls to numbers he hadn't dialed in 3 years. "Tom, I need access to your server room." "David, I appreciate the concern, but this is way beyond security guard level. We need federal cybercrimes experts." "I am a federal cybercrimes expert. I just work security now." Chen had joined the National Security Agency straight out of MIT in 2003. Computer science degree, specialization in network security, recruited directly into NSA's elite Cyber Command Division. For 15 years, he'd been one of the Pentagon's top defenders against foreign cyber attacks. His job had been to protect classified military networks from Chinese hackers, Russian state actors, and Iranian cyber warfare units. He'd thwarted attacks on nuclear facilities, defended election systems, and prevented digital espionage operations that could have compromised national security. But in 2018, David had burned out. 15 years of fighting invisible enemies, working 18-hour days, living with the constant pressure of knowing that one mistake could compromise American intelligence operations. He'd requested transfer to a less stressful position, been denied, and finally resigned. NSA had tried to keep him. His commanding officer, Colonel Patricia Hayes, had offered him promotions, pay raises, even a transfer to a training position. But David was done with the pressure and secrecy of intelligence work. "I want a simple job," he'd told Colonel Hayes. "Something where I can go home at the end of the day and not worry about national security." "David, you're one of our best cyber warfare specialists. This is a waste of your talents." "Maybe, but it's my choice." David had moved to Cleveland to be closer to his aging parents, taken a job as a night security guard, and spent 3 years trying to forget everything he'd learned about cyber warfare. He'd been successful until tonight. Now, watching First National Bank systems being systematically destroyed, Chen couldn't ignore his training any longer. "Tom, I need you to trust me," David said, walking toward the server room. "I spent 15 years at NSA defending networks exactly like this one. I know what we're dealing with." Tom hesitated. "NSA? You're NSA? Former NSA? Now I'm a security guard who happens to know how to stop nation-state cyber attacks." David entered the server room and immediately began analyzing the attack in real time. The hackers were using a multi-vector assault, penetrating the network through customer service terminals, escalating privileges through administrative accounts, and exfiltrating data while simultaneously manipulating financial records. "This is advanced persistent threat methodology," David told Tom. "Probably Chinese or Russian. They've been inside your network for weeks, maybe months, mapping your systems and waiting for the right moment to strike." "Can you stop them?" David was already typing commands into the primary server terminal. "I can try. But first, I need to understand their insertion point." For the next 20 minutes, David did something he hadn't done in 3 years. He went to war against enemy hackers. Using techniques he'd developed at NSA, he began tracing the attack vectors, identifying compromised accounts, and building a digital profile of the enemy operation. "They're using a botnet of compromised computers to mask their true location," David explained as he worked. "But they made a mistake. They're using encryption protocols that I've seen before in classified NSA briefings." "Who are they?" "State-sponsored actors. This isn't about money. This is about destabilizing American financial institutions." David's counterattack began at 9:23 p.m. Using NSA-developed intrusion techniques that weren't available to civilian cybersecurity experts, he started systematically ejecting the hackers from First National's network. First, he identified all compromised administrator accounts and reset their credentials. Then he began closing the backdoors the hackers had installed throughout the system. Finally, he started reversing their financial transactions, tracing stolen money back to its source accounts. "How are you doing this?" Tom asked, watching David work faster than any IT professional he'd ever seen. 15 years of practice. NSA taught me to think like a hacker in order to defeat hackers. But the enemy wasn't giving up. As David closed their access points, they opened new ones. As he reversed their transactions, they initiated new theft operations. This was becoming a real-time cyber war between David and what he estimated was a team of at least 6 professional hackers. "They're adapting to my countermeasures," David said. "This is definitely state-sponsored." Random cyber criminals would have fled by now. David made a decision that went against every cybersecurity protocol he'd learned. Instead of just defending, he decided to attack. Using techniques classified far above Tom's security clearance, David began penetrating the hackers' own systems. If they wanted a cyber war, he'd give them one. "David, is this legal?" Tom asked nervously. "Probably not. But neither is stealing $50 million from American bank customers." David's offensive operation lasted exactly 18 minutes. Using NSA tools that officially didn't exist, he penetrated the hackers' command and control servers, identified their physical locations, and began systematically destroying their operation from the inside. "I've got them," David announced at 9:41 p.m. "They're operating out of Guangzhou, China. 6-person team, state-sponsored, probably Ministry of State Security." "How can you know that?" "Because I've been fighting these specific hackers for 10 years. I recognize their digital signatures." David's counterattack was surgical and devastating. He didn't just eject the hackers from First National's network, he destroyed their ability to attack any other American targets. Their servers crashed, their stolen data was corrupted, and their command structure was dismantled. By 10 p.m., it was over. Every stolen dollar had been returned to customer accounts. Every compromised system had been secured. Every backdoor had been closed. First National Bank's network was not only secure, it was more secure than it had been before the attack began. $50 million recovered, David reported. All customer accounts restored. No permanent damage to bank operations. Tom stared at the screens in amazement. "David, you just saved our entire bank." "I just did my job. Different job than usual, but still my job." The FBI Cybercrimes Unit arrived at 11:30 p.m. to find the attack completely neutralized and the hackers identified, located, and defeated. Special Agent Sarah Martinez had expected to find a chaotic crime scene. Instead, she found David Chen writing a detailed report of his countermeasures. "You're the security guard who stopped the attack." Former NSA cyber warfare specialist, current security guard. Agent Martinez reviewed David's report and realized she was reading a masterclass in advanced cyber defense. "Mr. Chen, this is the most sophisticated counterattack I've ever seen from civilian personnel." "I'm not civilian personnel. I'm former military intelligence with 15 years of experience fighting exactly this type of threat." The bank's executives arrived within an hour. President Richard Hawthorne, Executive Vice President Lisa Wong, and Chief Information Officer Michael Stevens gathered in the IT department to understand what had happened. "Mr. Chen," President Hawthorne began, "I understand you saved our bank from complete financial destruction. I stopped a cyber attack. It's what I was trained to do. But you're a security guard." "Tonight, I was a cyber warfare specialist. Tomorrow, I'll go back to being a security guard." "What city are you watching from right now?" Because this story proves that expertise never really disappears. It just waits for the right moment to emerge. Tell us where you're watching from. CIO Stevens had a different perspective. Mr. Chen, we've been looking for a chief cybersecurity officer for months. We need someone with exactly your background and experience. David hesitated. He'd left NSA to escape the pressure and complexity of cyber warfare. But watching customer accounts being drained in real time had reminded him why his skills mattered. 3 days later, David Chen sat in President Hawthorne's office discussing a job offer that would change his life again. "We're prepared to offer you the position of Chief Cybersecurity Officer," Hawthorne said. "Salary commensurate with your experience, full benefits, and the resources to build a world-class cyber defense program. I appreciate the offer, but I left government service because I wanted a simple life. Mr. Chen, there's nothing simple about protecting 200,000 customers from economic warfare. You have skills that could save lives and livelihoods." David thought about the attack he'd just stopped. State-sponsored hackers targeting American financial institutions wasn't random crime. It was economic terrorism. And he was one of the few people in the country qualified to fight back. "If I accept, I want full authority to implement NSA-level security protocols. No bureaucratic interference, no budget constraints for essential cybersecurity measures." "Agreed. And I want to establish a program to train other veterans with cybersecurity backgrounds. There are hundreds of former NSA, CIA, and military intelligence officers working civilian jobs who could be defending American banks instead of checking IDs and watching cameras." President Hawthorne smiled. "Mr. Chen, I think you found your new mission." 6 months later, David Chen's cybersecurity program at First National Bank had become a model for the entire banking industry. His veteran recruitment program had placed former intelligence officers in cybersecurity positions at banks across Ohio. But more importantly, David had discovered that leaving NSA didn't mean abandoning his purpose. It just meant finding a new way to serve. The Chinese hackers never attempted another attack on First National Bank. Word had spread through the international cybercrime community that the bank was protected by someone who fought back. David still walked the security rounds every night, but now he was also monitoring network traffic, analyzing threat intelligence, and preparing for the next cyber war. Because once you've spent 15 years defending America from invisible enemies, you never really stop being a warrior. You just find new battles to fight, new institutions to protect, new ways to serve your country from behind the scenes. Sometimes the most important battles aren't fought with guns or bombs, but with keyboards and code. Sometimes the people who save you are the ones you walk past every day without a second thought. David Chen learned that expertise earned in classified government service doesn't become obsolete in civilian life. It just waits for the moment when ordinary people need extraordinary protection from threats they never see coming. So, tell us, have you ever encountered someone whose quiet competence hid years of specialized training? Someone whose technical background, earned in government service, prepared them for civilian emergencies most people couldn't handle? Share their story in the comments. Tell us their name. Honor the veterans whose invisible skills protect our digital lives every day. Because at Unsung Hero Stories, we believe that cyber warfare is the new battlefield, and the people protecting us often wear civilian clothes and work night shifts. Subscribe if this story moved you. We share these modern hero stories every week. And remember, next time you see a security guard, IT worker, or anyone in a technical support role, consider that they might be carrying skills learned in places where national security depended on their ability to outsmart invisible enemies.